In the winter of 1913, an Arctic expedition left the northern coast of Canada in search of new lands and scientific glory. The men expected hardship, but they believed discipline and planning would keep them alive. Instead, drifting ice, hunger, and isolation slowly closed around them. By the time the ice broke in spring, no one remained to tell the story. In 1913, the northern edges of Canada were still largely unmapped. The Arctic was seen as a final frontier. A place where explorers imagined new islands, untouched lands, and discoveries that could define a career. Nations wanted maps. Universities wanted data. And adventurers wanted glory. So, when plans formed for an Arctic scientific expedition, the goal was simple in theory: sail north, establish winter camps, gather research, and return when the ice broke in spring. The mission brought together a small group of men. Some were scientists. Others were sailors and hunters. All agreed to face the Arctic in exchange for wages, purpose, and the promise of recognition. Their leader believed deeply in discipline and endurance. He insisted that courage and order would outmatch hunger and storms. The men trusted that confidence. They boarded the ship with heavy clothing, food stores, equipment, and high expectations. When they reached the fringes of the Arctic pack ice, the environment changed immediately. The open water narrowed into channels of drifting white. Snow blurred the horizon. The sun dipped low for most of the day. Darkness arrived early and stayed long. The wind carried a sharp, metallic chill that cut through layers of wool and fur. Still, the men believed this was temporary. They expected to anchor near solid land and build a base. But the ship became trapped earlier than planned. The ice closed around the hull with slow pressure. Groaning would echo through the night. They could not push forward. They could not turn back. The ship was now part of the frozen sea. They set up camp on the ice, thinking it would be brief. Routines formed. Measurements were taken. Journals were written. Fires burned in small stoves, using precious fuel. The men kept each other busy to avoid panic. Letters home were prepared, never to be sent. As winter deepened, hunting became difficult. Visibility disappeared into storms. Food calculations grew tighter. Men began to watch their supplies with silent worry. Still, the official tone remained calm. The belief in survival continued. They expected rescue. Or release. Or spring. But the Arctic does not bargain. The storms kept coming. The ship remained locked in place. And the men, once confident and orderly, began to understand the scale of their isolation. There was no help. No escape. Only ice. This realization spread slowly, like the cold itself. And by the time it settled, it was already too late. As the long Arctic night took hold, the expedition's daily rhythm changed. Light vanished for weeks at a time. The men navigated by lantern glow and memory. The wind scraped across the ice, rattling tents and boards. Every sound seemed amplified. Every silence felt heavier. Rations were reduced. What had once been careful planning now became strict survival math. Each biscuit mattered. Each strip of dried meat was debated. They stretched everything to its limit, hoping the ice would release them before starvation arrived. But the pressure never eased. Some men argued for traveling across the ice toward distant trading posts. Others insisted that movement would only guarantee death. The leader argued for discipline. He ordered structure. Logs were kept. Tasks were assigned. But fear seeps through order. It always does. Illness crept in next. First fatigue. then weakness. Then infections that would have been minor in warmer climates, but here became lethal. Medical supplies dwindled. Medicines froze. The doctor could offer only comfort and routine, not cures. The Arctic foxes that once darted across the snow began to vanish. Seals grew scarce. Storms blocked hunting attempts. Each day without a successful kill tightened the invisible rope around the camp. Men began to speak less. Their journal entries became shorter. Sentences broke off. Thoughts ended unresolved. It was as if the Arctic was not only taking their strength, but also their voices. Ice continued shifting beneath the camp. Cracks formed. Loud booms split the air as frozen ridges collided. Sometimes the ground beneath their tents moved like a slow, sleeping creature. The ship groaned like a dying thing. No one slept easily. Those who attempted to leave across the ice were never seen again. Those who stayed behind understood the meaning of that silence. By late winter, the men had stopped pretending that rescue would arrive. The world did not know where they were. Or if it did, it could not reach them. They were alone on a floating world of frozen water. The map still listed blank spaces where they stood. Soon, those blank spaces would claim them entirely. The mission shifted from science to endurance. From endurance to survival. From survival to waiting. Waiting for the cold to finish what it had begun. The final months of the expedition were marked by collapse. Supplies were nearly gone. The ship's timbers creaked under relentless pressure. The tents were patched and repatched. Boots wore thin. Faces hollowed. Movements slowed. Hunger became constant. Not a sharp pain, but a dull, consuming weight. The men wrapped themselves in blankets and listened to the wind carve across the barren ice. Speech became rare. Decisions became shorter. There was nothing left to plan. When storms arrived, the camp vanished into white. Canvas snapped. Ropes strained. Men held structures in place with numb hands. When the wind eased, the snow revealed shapes that looked less like a camp and more like ruins. One by one, men weakened beyond recovery. Some still tried to write notes, hoping someone would someday find them. Others stared into the distance, as if watching for a horizon that never appeared. A few still believed the ice would break and release them to the sea. But the Arctic had already chosen the ending. At last, the ice shifted violently. The ship cracked. The hull splintered. Cold water surged through shattered beams. The men could not stop it. They watched the last symbol of safety sink slowly beneath gray water. After that, the camp dissolved into fragments. Supplies scattered. Tents collapsed. The men were left exposed to wind, snow, and the relentless emptiness of the Arctic. No final message survived. No single event marked the end. Just silence. When the ice finally thawed months later, drifting fragments of wood and scattered belongings floated across the northern sea. Names remained on crew lists and expedition plans. But the men themselves were gone. They had journeyed into the blank space of the map. And the map had closed behind them. The Arctic does not return what it takes. It keeps stories in the wind. It buries names beneath drifting snow. It freezes time. It seals endings in ice. The ship is gone now. The camp is gone. The men are gone. There are no markers. No graves. No last words carved into wood. Only ice. Only silence. Only the slow breathing of the Arctic itself. For a time, people waited for letters. Families hoped for news. Cities followed the story in newspapers. There were maps. There were plans. There were promises that rescue would come. But rescue never arrived. The winter was too strong. The distance was too great. The world had other concerns. Months passed. Seasons shifted. The names of the men began to fade from conversation. The stories slipped quietly from the headlines. Soon, the expedition became a rumor. A ghost story told in remote towns. A warning wrapped in snow and distance. Search parties tried to reach the north. Some turned back. Some disappeared as well. The Arctic swallowed their footprints. It kept theirs too. The wreck of the ship drifted beneath the ice. Wood splintered. Metal corroded. Cloth dissolved into the sea. Their camp broke apart piece by piece. A tent pole lost in the snow. A cooking pot frozen into the ice. A scattered page from a journal. No one was there to gather these remains. No one recorded the last day. No clock marked the final hour. The end came quietly. Without announcement. Without drama. Without witnesses. Just the slow hush of winter closing in. Years passed. Then decades. The world moved forward. Wars began. Nations changed. Cities grew. New explorers sailed north. New missions chased glory. New tragedies replaced the old ones. The Arctic mission of 1913 became a footnote. Then a sentence. Then a forgotten line in an aging report. People stopped asking what happened. They stopped wondering about the final camp. They stopped speaking the men's names. Time does that. It smooths the past. It softens the edges. It hides the pain beneath layers of ordinary life. Out on the ice, there is still nothing. No sound but the wind. No movement but drifting snow. The sea freezes. Then thaws. Then freezes again. Somewhere beneath it all, there may still be fragments. A nail in a wooden beam. A rusted tool. A piece of rope. But they do not speak. They do not explain. They simply rest in the dark. If you sailed there today, you would see only white. White sky. White ice. White horizon. You would hear nothing. You would feel only cold. And somewhere out in that silent expanse, the memory of the men remains. Not written. Not told. Not preserved. Just kept. Held quietly by the Arctic. Their story faded. Their mission dissolved. Their lives disappeared into the snow. There is no ending carved in stone. There is no monument. Only this. They went north. They never returned. And the Arctic never gave them back. Thank you for watching. New historical stories are published regularly.